Good afternoon, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Rams Coast podcast. It is I, your host, Rahim. As always, you can follow me on my personal Twitter account at WTR Raw. The WTR is capitalized. You can follow this podcast Twitter account at Rams underscore Coast. We got a lot of things going on, man. The season's finally here. We're done with the draft. We're done with free agency. We're done with OTAs. We're done with training camp. We're done with preseason. Everything's all here. We're down to the nitty gritty. This is the time of the year that we spent all summer waiting for. So many fan bases, so many fans, so many teams. We're gonna start the season out with so much excitement. Some of that excitement for some of those teams is going to carry on throughout the season and into the postseason. For some other of those fans, they're gonna find out real real soon. This is just not their year. The Rams are one of those teams that are hoping and trying to make sure that they're still in the postseason. Of course, still winning. I mean, of course, winning a Super Bowl last year and trying to win our second consecutive one this year. There's a little bit of roster turnover. We brought the four core guys that I believe four key players to the last Rams championship run, and the guys that are going to be the most important this one, and in no particular order, but Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Ramsey. Those guys are the four leaders. Those are in my those aren't the well, I think I'm pretty sure all of those guys. I have to check, but I'm pretty sure all of those guys were named captains. But if you're asking me, those are our team captains. Those are the guys who the rest of everybody else is going to be following in the battle. We of course have Cam Akers, who's going to be who's going to be as of now, it looks like he's going to be with us for the whole season. You never know how things can pan out, especially with the running back position. But hopefully, with 17 games from him, we'll be able to establish more of a running game than we did last year. Last year many times, except for I think the month of November, we were pretty much a one-dimensional team. We weren't able to really, establish a run game with any sort of consistency last year. Hopefully he, Kyron Williams and Daryl Henderson, there will be some more open running lanes for them to run through, and we can, finally get back to that. Not necessarily a dominant running game. I'm not sure if at this point in the game that's really what Sean McVay is trying to do, but to be able to just turn around and run the ball, is always a big boon to any team. I think much more so to ours. Got a couple of question marks along the offensive line. Of course, Andrew Whitworth, who I believe one day will be a Hall of Famer, retired last year. He will be with Amazon's and their broadcast crew when they do games this year. Hats off to him. Hope the best. He was really one of the most important, if not the most important, free agent acquisition of the Sean McVay area. Him and Robert Woods helping to turn the culture around in LA and turn the culture around for the Rams. Forever grateful for what those guys been able to do for this team and for this city. Very grateful that I got to witness them play, not only at SoFi but also at the Coliseum. I wish them the best in their careers. Really glad we were able to get a Super Bowl ring for those guys. But Andrew Whitworth is not here this year, so his replacement, last year's backup tackle, Joseph Noteboom, will actually be stepping into the starting position. A lot of people would, like I said, that's one of the question marks that people have about our team. I'll admit that it's a question mark in that we don't, know exactly what Joseph Noteboom is going to do for a 17 game season because we just haven't asked him to do that for us. But in the time that we have asked him, he's started a few games for us. He's also relieved Andrew Whitworth in a couple of games where he's gotten injured. He started in the divisional playoff game last year against the Bucks and did very well against one of the best front sevens in the NFL last year. So, like I said, for me, that's a little bit less of a question mark than for most people, but it is. Um, it's an uncertainty, and it's something that if something derails the Rams, that'll be one of the things that we're probably possibly looking at as the reason why. We're going to be replacing our right guard. We, of course, thought Logan Bruss, who we drafted at 104 out of Wisconsin, we were hoping that he could fill that role. I know that the Rams said that when they were drafting him at 104, they were looking to draft somebody who could compete to start day one in the NFL as a rookie. Um, Coleman Shelton came in this camp and really, from what the coaches said, really put his stamp on that spot and really said, "This is mine." And then when Logan, in my opinion, when we got to see Logan against some other teams, we kind of saw, that, okay, okay, all right, it makes sense why Coleman Shelton won this job out. That's not to say that, just like, Logan Bruss was just so terrible, because there was some bad, there was some good. But you could just see he needed work, and not only that, there's a lot of report. I didn't get a chance to get out to training camp this year, but some of the people that I trust that are knowledgeable about the game said that he looked a little bigger. He looked a little bit more Coleman Shelton, that is, looked a little bigger, looked a little bit more physical. Hopefully that helps us, like I said earlier, trying to establish a more consistent run game. But this unit was number one in pass block win rate last year. When you are looking to throw the ball as much as the Rams were last year, and as much as a lot of people think we're going to throw the ball this year, that's extremely important. The left tackle is one of the most important positions in all of football, protecting your quarterback's blind side. Andrew Whitworth did that so well for so many years, not just for us, but with the Bengals as well. And if Joseph Noboom is going to have to, so one of the big things that I that one of the things that I stress that I need to see from him is the availability. Joe's been hurt at least once a year, every year that he's been in the NFL, and he hasn't had that starting, player workload. So that is a little bit of a cause for concern. But I'm confident that Reggie Scott and our medical team can, do what needs to be done. We're one of the best teams in the NFL when it comes to keeping our guys on the field, and then when they do have to miss games, getting them back on the field and getting them back as close to 100% as is feasibly possible. Um, our I'm not going to say revamped wide receiver room, because there's a little bit of change. There's obviously Bobby Trees, Robert Woods, fan favorite, will not be here this year. He got shipped off to Tennessee, where I actually think if he can stay healthy for 17 games, he may find himself a nice little home there. Um, but we weren't not we could have brought him back, but you could just see, with Matthew Stafford, you could just kind of see that the connection, between him and Woods just you know, wasn't really there, and it kind of, raised some questions going forward about, what we were going to do with our offense going forward. If and when Robert Woods, came back, there was some excitement, especially with the possibility of an Odell Beckham Jr. reunion, and then having those three guys out on the field all together. There was a lot of excitement for fans, but if you were watching the games, you could kind of see that the meshing, the gelling between Woods and Stafford didn't, really definitely didn't happen to the degree that it did with Cooper Cup. But it just really wasn't there. He himself, Robert, voiced some frustration with his lack of involvement in the games, especially early in the season, and then he got hurt. So Rams brass kind of looked at his contract, and looked at some of the things around the NFL, made the decision to go ahead and move on from him. And we went ahead and brought in Allen Robinson, who was a free agent, who spent the last few years in Chicago. A lot of people remember A lot of people remember Allen Robinson for his big year, the 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns that he had with Jacksonville when Blake Bortles was the quarterback. And Allen Robinson was actually a guy that both Cooper Cup and Matthew Stafford were beating the table, beating Sean and Les Snead's table. Hey, we need to get this guy, here in LA. He could help take us over the next level. And Matthew Stafford had actually been pounding the table for him since last year, since he got here to LA. So there's, the guys that are here, the guys that are, in this offense and in this team, in this system, in this building every day are have pretty much given him a stamp of approval. And I love Allen Robinson's game. I'm a big, any receiver, however a receiver gets the job done for you, that's great. But I really truly love the bigger physical wide receivers that can go down the field and can really outmuscle and outposition and outjump guys for balls. And that's, if you know anything about Matthew Stafford, he loves those type of receivers. He loves throwing those, those arm punts, those 50-50 balls. Those, it's either a great play by the offense or possibly an interception by the defense. And we saw with especially down in the red zone, was seeing that Cooper Cup is he had um, can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe he had 10 touchdowns. So somewhere around 10 touchdowns that came in, inside from the 20 or inside the 10 last year. But he's not your traditional, red zone threat that you think about. He's not a small dude, 6'2", 215, but he's not like a big physical dude that's gonna go out and out muscle and out jump a lot of guys and win some of those 50-50. It's something that he can do, but that's not like, when I think of Cooper Cup, that's not one of the items in his skill set that I say is near the top of that list. But for Allen Robinson, that is, and we saw what that could do with Odell Beckham Jr. coming in, and that's no matter what you wanted to say about Odell Beckham Jr. last year, he proved that he was still one of the best jump ball receivers in the league. He had quite a few big moments for us. Won the ball, pretty much won the Baltimore Ravens game for us. Had a big jump ball in the Arizona Cardinals game in the playoffs, and we saw what having another receiver on the other side with those kind of capabilities did for our offense last year. I'm assuming Sean McVay looked down and looked at what we did with OBJ and said, not that Allen Robinson does everything that OBJ does, because I don't believe he does. I believe they're two different wide receivers, but having another uh, reliable receiver on the other side of Cooper Cup at that X position, what it did for our offense, and how having that, I'm not going to say elite, but having that player that can win those backside one-on-ones consistently, how it really took our offense to the next level and propelled us to the Super Bowl. There's a lot of excitement about Allen Robinson when it comes to what he can do for the Los Angeles Rams. We also have Tutu Atwell, who, if you pay any attention to how the Rams play and don't play their players, that the guys that you don't see in preseason are genuinely the guys that are gonna get a lot of they're gonna get a lot of burn in the regular season. And Tutu Atwell, to a lot of fans' surprise, well, I mean, I don't know about a lot of fans. I know to my it was my surprise. I thought that he had a lot more to prove than obviously the Rams coaches did, because they went ahead and they went ahead and sat him. They said what they saw from OTAs and training camp was everything they needed to see. And Sean McVay said that Tutu Atwell is going to be a big part of what we do as a team and as an offense this year. That was a little bit of a surprise for me. A few episodes ago, I broke down or I gave 5 intriguing battles going into training camp, and Tutu Atwell versus pretty much everybody else was one of my 5. It was one of the ones that was most intriguing to me, because I was worried about him getting washed out in a wide receiving room and just a passing offense, tight ends included, that looked to me at the time to be very deep. Two of those players we ended up getting rid of: Kendall Blanton, Jacob Harris. Jacob Harris, of course, came back to the team on the practice squad. But Kendall Blanton is off. I know that he got picked up by Washington, and then they ended up releasing him. So I'm assuming he's still a free agent right now. But um, so there's a little bit more room for him, and Van Jefferson is dealing with some issues with his knee, related to his surgery that he got in the off season. And so like I said, there's just there's some open room for Tutu, where in the past it just was not there. And I truly believe that Tutu Atwell is my only questions about Tutu ever were just at 155, 60, whatever it is. under a buck 70, what can we really expect? And I kind of broke it down, but it sounds like he's done what he's needed to do to prove to the Rams coaches that he deserves to be out there on that field. I know during our joint practice with the Bengals that he was able to get behind the defense on a couple of deep passes. One of them made a really nice over the shoulder catch. So we're hoping that he could open up some things down the field consistently. Not only that, just to be able to stay on the field and be a consistent target for this Rams offense. Of course, Benny Skowronek is coming back. I know that that is not a name uh, that inspires a lot of warm emotions among Rams fans, but you got to understand that. And what I'm getting ready to say, I've said this to a lot of Rams fans before, and they get, it's still kind of, you still get the mumbling and the grumbling, but Ben Skowronek was a seventh round draft pick last year, who was primarily, not even primarily, solely a special teamer, solely a special teamer who was forced to come into the starting lineup and play significant snaps, the wide receiver position. I don't believe that really truly the Rams offensive coaches were really thinking that Ben Skowronek was going to need to be on the field during big moments down the stretch of the season like he was. That taking that into account, it kind of makes sense. Some of the struggles that he had, and to be honest, the real struggles that Ben Skowronek has is just catching the football, and for a wide receiver, that's that's a pretty big issue to have. But he does everything else well that you would want out of a wide receiver in the Rams offense. The Rams offense doesn't use a lot of tight ends. We don't have any fullbacks. So we use our wide receivers sometimes as tight ends and fullbacks for some of those outside zone running plays. And his Benny Skowronek, his ability to seal the edge and to really be an effective blocker at 220 plus pounds is a big boom for our offense, and a huge reason why he was able to stay on the field last year. Even though you know let's be honest, Benny Skowronek's probably a great guy, but I don't really believe in anybody defensive coordinators are really checking for him at all. When they're doing their when they're looking at Rams film. But that's and whatever it is, whatever you want to say about Benny, that's a really important, that's something that's really important for us. And as long as he continues to do that well, and he's still on his rookie deal, I foresee Ben Skowronek getting some PT. It may hurt some of us, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to help the team. Um, and of course, there's always, Lance McCutcheon who could always get some burn. Um, Lance McCutcheon, undrafted free agent coming out of Montana State, led the league in receiving yards in the preseason and was just, pretty much just came out of nowhere. I knew a little bit about him. I found out about him by actually watching Daniel Hardy, the kid we picked up out of Montana State, the edge rusher. I was watching. I wasn't even trying to watch. Montana State's offense, but I was skipping through the game trying to find some more Dan Hardy tape. And I saw a big play that Lance made, and I made a note to go back and watch some of him, and I went back and watched some of him, and I was really really, like I said, I love the bigger receivers that go up and go get those balls, and Lance McCutcheon showed us a lot of that in this preseason. He not sure exactly how much he's going to see the field, especially this year, but definitely for the future. I think it's a player that a lot of Rams fans need to be very, 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 very excited for. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, the big news, of course, losing Von Miller. Anytime you lose a player of Von's stature and his pedigree, it's you're probably not going to replace him. Let's just let's just keep it honest. No matter how good what other players we may have on this team, none of them have the nickname playoff on. None of them are a former Super Bowl MVP, and none of them are uh, you know not none of them, but not none of the players on defense, but specifically the edge rushers. I love Leonard Floyd, but he's probably not a first ballot Hall of Famer like Von Miller is, and so how do you, like I said, you won't be able to fully replace everything you did, but how do you, first of all, just replace the roster spot? Um, and in my opinion, we've done, pretty good, as good as a job as we could have, this season. Of course, you can always say, oh, we could have made a trade, we could have brought in this guy, could have brought in that guy, but considering everything else that the Rams did with their roster this offseason, I think we did pretty well with our and I have faith in our what's going to be our edge rushers, that rotation. Daniel Hardy, who I spoke about earlier, had an ankle surgery a couple weeks ago, so he'll be out for, I believe, the first 4 to 8 weeks of the season. I already spoke about Leonard Floyd, Justin Hollins, who was a starter last year and had actually, started to show some promise, and then he went down with an injury. Terrell Lewis, the same thing, had a sack in 3 straight games, and then he went down with his injury. There's also Kier Thomas, who had a pretty good preseason. Excuse me, had a pretty good preseason. Um, had actually, in my opinion, had a really good first quarter against the Bengals. He was a constant figure in the backfield. Got a sack, tackle for loss. Excited about. No, I wouldn't necessarily call what I had for him excitement. Um, but I expect him to come in and make a few plays here and there. Don't expect him to really provide all 10 sacks or anything like that. He's mainly going to be a rotational guy. There will be some games he won't even dress for. But like I said, um, Justin Hollins, Leonard Floyd, Terrell Lewis, Dan Hardy when he comes back, Kiera Thomas. I trust that the one on ones that they're going to see created by the force and freak of nature that is Aaron Donald. I believe that they're going to win those as we were able to do last season. We were one of the best pass rushing teams with Vaughn. We were the best one of the best pass rushing teams without Vaughn last year. We're actually, the Rams have been one of the best pass rushing teams in the league for a significant moment. So we've been able to create pressure on the quarterback without Von Miller. I'm confident in our ability to do that with him. Like I said, um, you know, his effect and his ability to close games out, and close games, and show up in big moments in the playoffs. We probably will not be able to reproduce, but just the raw, production in terms of what statistically he did for this team. Um, it wouldn't shock me at all if we replace that. Of course, talking about the interior of our defensive line, I already mentioned Aaron Donald, Greg Gaines, who pretty much took Sebastian Joseph Day's job last year, who ended up going off with the Chargers. He was healthy for the Super Bowl and just didn't really get a lot of burn because Greg Gaines just pretty much took his job. He's really good against the run. He's improving as a pass rusher, playing next to Aaron Donald. You know, you expect that young players like that will glean off of older veterans, and it looks like he's doing a little bit of that. Ashawn Robinson cannot talk enough about what he did down the stretch in terms of shutting down the run. And that's, if you've ever seen a picture of him, that's a big, ugly, scary dude. I love having him in the middle of our defense there. And then, we got Jonah Williams and Michael Hoyt, who that is actually, guys, I think you guys should actually give me a round of applause for that one. That's the first time I've ever pronounced Michael Hoyt's name correct on the first try. But again, just rotational depth for a defensive line that hopes to be one of the best in the league this season. And then, of course, moving to the linebackers, Bobby Wagner, bringing in Bobby Wagner from the Seattle Seahawks. I made a tweet about this a little bit earlier today, and just you know, I'm going to be out there for the Bills game. Um, and I've watched a lot of Rams football over the years, and I've watched a lot of Bobby Wagner. I've watched a lot of Bobby Wagner, and just seeing a player like that who played for your division rival, a player that you rooted against, so hard for so many years. It's gonna be a little weird seeing him out there in horns and cheering his name and cheering him on when he's making big plays. But that's, it is what it is. It's the NFL. And, you paid to come to work. Whoever pays you the most, that's where you show up. And, luckily, actually, I actually heard that, Bobby, could have got a little bit more elsewhere, but, we were able to, um, convince him to come through for a, slight discount, maybe a hometown discount, him being from the Ontario area. But Bobby Wagner's going to be the best linebacker that the Rams have had easily since London Fletcher. No disrespect to Pisa Tino. So excuse me, I'm so sorry. No disrespect to Pisa and James Laurinaitis and some of the other linebackers that have come through the years, but just head and shoulders going to be the best since London Fletcher. Surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, all decade team member. I think he is really going to change the middle of our defense. The middle of our defense was just wide the fuck open last year. Excuse my French. We saw teams like the San Francisco 49ers exploit that opening. Time after time after time after time after time again, and that's just because we just did not have the players at that inside linebacker position to really deter teams from going away there. And whatever you want to say about Bobby Wagner at 30, I believe he's 31. He's going to be around 32 this year. So whatever you want to say about him taking a step back, he was a second team All Pro last year. And even if you want to say that there were a couple of guys that are better than him, well, there's still I still don't believe that there are five inside linebackers in the league better than Bobby Wagner right now today on what is it, September 4th, 2022. I do not believe that there are five inside linebackers in the NFL better than Bobby Wagner. I believe he is going to turn what is a weakness. Him and Ernest Jones, who Ernest Jones, came in as a rookie last year, showed a lot of promise on just doing so many things, playing against the run, rushing the passer, playing. He was able to get a couple of interceptions, playing in the past. Him and Bobby, I really think and that's I brought up Ernest to say that I think Ernest is going to be like our primary coverage linebacker, and Bobby's going to sit more in the middle, directing traffic, which that's one of the things that he's one of the best in the NFL. Having Bobby Wagner right there in the middle of your defense is like having a quarterback on defense. His ability to dissect plays and to get players into position and to just know where the play is going sometimes before it's even before the play even starts, I think is going to just take our defense um, to another level. Like I said, turn a weakness that it was for us last year into a strength. Moving on to the defensive backfield, there were questions galore when it was coming to this defensive backfield at the beginning of the offseason. Um, Darius Williams, who in my opinion did not have the greatest year, but was a starter last year, ended up going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He got a nice paycheck. Hats off to him. Hoping and wishing the best for him and his family. But it left somewhat of a void. A lot of players. We had before the draft. We had Robert Rochelle, David Long, Dante Dan, who's no longer with the team. And then after then it was like, ooh, what are we gonna do at defensive backfield? So we went ahead and we brought in the guys that we brought in, guys like Darion Kendrick, excuse me, Quentin Lake, um, and Jacoby Durant in this past year's draft, and all that those guys and all that guys like him have done, including Robert Rochelle, who was a rookie on the team last year. All those guys have done have really is just really come out and impressed the coaches, impressed the fans that I know that went out to training camp. They impressed them. I saw a lot of impressive work from them in preseason, and it's all of this has come out to lead Jalen Ramsey to say that this is the deepest cornerback room that he's ever played with. In terms of when he's being a Los Angeles Ram, and that that really gets me going because, like I said, big question marks everywhere when it came to this position group. Specifically the cornerbacks. I didn't have as many questions about our safeties, and I'll break that down in just a minute. Um, but I had a lot of questions about and just looking at the quarterbacks we're going to be playing this year: Mahomes, Carr, Josh Allen, Week 1, Russell Wilson. I've said this time and time again, and I will say it. Um, until it's no longer true. If you believe that a guy is the best quarterback in the NFL, the Los Angeles Rams will play him this year. And, that exacerbated a lot of those question marks that I had about our cornerback room, because we have to go into a game, where, and we got to go to December. In December, we got to go to, the Lambeau and play two-time defending MVP Aaron Rodgers. And if, we're going out there with guys are just revolving, who are just revolving doors, guys like that are just going to pick this defense apart. It really doesn't matter what Aaron Donald or Leonard Floyd and Bobby Wagner up front can do, because if they're we just can't stop anybody at the point of attack when it comes to the receiver versus DB matchups, you know. But some of those, like I said, we'll need to get on the field and to actually put some film together and to go back and watch it, see how many of these questions have actually been answered. But I think a lot of the questions about the Rams cornerbacks have been answered. Robert Rochelle and I love his game and his athleticism, his physicality. Love Darion Kendrick. One of the things that I love about him is the ball skills, the being a 5-star wide receiver coming out of high school. That athletic profile. The two-time national champion. Knowing what it takes to go from summer ball when it's 90 and 100 degrees, you're sweating, all that, bringing it into September and October and November and December. College season ends a little bit before the NFL, but into January, about being so mentally focused for such a long, what's some people it may just be just a few months, September to February. I believe that's 6 months. Just staying mentally focused every single day, doing the same things, just trying to get better every single day, trying to having a team, a group of 50, 50 plus guys, not just the players, the coaches, the field guys, the equipment managers, everybody having this sort of hive mind focus on this goal that we're trying to accomplish. Darion Kendrick's done that, and he's done that twice. He's done that with two different teams. I love that about his game. You need guys like that. You need guys that know what it's going to take to win a championship. And he hasn't done it at the NFL level. I understand that. But for what it's worth, I do think that is a big boon to his game and to what he's going to do for us. And Jacoby Durant, HBCU standout out of South Carolina State. Plays much bigger than his listed weight, not just physically, but just everything. He looks to me just he doesn't really look as or he doesn't really play as small as he weighs and measures out. Um, and then of course Quentin Lake, Quentin Lake out of UCLA. For a lot of you Rams fans, especially ones of you that are UCLA fans, know about him. But like I said, all of these guys have come in and really shown a lot of good work. We got to see it in the regular season, and we got to see it on Thursday night against the Bills. But other than that, I have a lot more confidence in that grouping than I did at the beginning of May. And then just rounding it out with our safeties. Jordan Fuller, who was our starter last year, was a captain last year. Interestingly enough, was not voted captain again this year. Not sure exactly what that means. I think that's just really just more so some other guys stepping up, and then of course having Bobby Wagner, who's gonna be the green dot for this team. It's probably the main reason. I don't really read too much into it, but of course he's coming back. We're gonna have Nick Scott. Taylor Rapp is he dealt with that concussion at the end of the year. Was able to play in the Super Bowl. Actually played a really good game. Played much better than I think a lot of us expected. So we got returners. We got returners there. We got new guys coming in. Of course, Johnny Hecker left. Will no longer be our punter. This might be a crazy argument to have, but I think, in my opinion, not really sure that there's really a greater punter in NFL history than Johnny Hecker. Just his, I say this because I watched Johnny Hecker single-handedly keep us in games over the course of his career just by flipping the field and booting a punt and pinning a team inside their own 20 and their 10. And not only that, just his ability as former high school quarterback, come out there and throw some throw some fake punts that we used to do during the Fisher Ball days. Special teams is 1/3 of the game. Can't you can't belittle it. But honestly, he had taken a little bit of a step back from, like I said, that premier punter premier punter title that I would give him, and he was by far the highest paid at the position. So it really made sense to move on from Johnny Hecker at this time. Wasn't really one that a lot of Rams fans were really in love with, but realistically, it was a move that had to be done. But Michael Dixon will be taking over the punting duties. Him being a veteran, I've got faith in him. I trust him until I see a reason not to. Um, but there goes the Rams roster as we try to defend our championship, as we try to run it back, as we try to win second consecutive Super Bowl. That's the roster. That's the team that's going to be it's going to be rolling out there week one in a banger of a game against the a lot of people think that they should have been the AFC champion Buffalo Bills, but it's another conversation for another day. Um, but here they are. It's a new season. I know. Like I said earlier, I'll be at the game. I'm in the my tickets in the where's my 400 section, standing room only. I bought my ticket. I bought my ticket the night that the schedule dropped. Um, standing room only is what it is. I end up standing. I end up standing for most of the game anyway, so it really won't be that much of an adjustment. Much of an adjustment for me. I'm definitely going to be up there tailgating, which brings me to a couple, some bills I gotta pay. Shout out to all my boys over at World Tour Rams. Look us up on IG. Again, that's World Tour Rams. It's all one word. In my opinion, I may be a little bit biased, but I think we throw the best tailgate parties, at SoFi in LA, wherever. Um, we've got DJs, we got live music, we got food, we got drinks. We got hundreds of people that are just coming by, chilling out, eating some food, drinking some beers, waiting for the waiting for the doors to SoFi to open so we can get in there. But if you have if you had, to be honest, I was gonna start by inviting people who have, even if you have been to SoFi before, make sure you go ahead and stop by the pink lot with us. We'll be out there. Like I said, look us up on World Tour Rams. You can see everything that we're into. Um, we're just some passionate fans. We love our team. We love hanging out with other passionate fans who love their team. Come by. We don't charge nothing. It's free. But if you're drinking some Modelo's, you're drinking a Coors Light, you're drinking, bring a case of that, whatever. We'll call it a day. Like I said, we don't really try to charge people. Um, but again, I'm so excited for me. The tailgates are as much fun as the games. But again, look us up. Pink Lot Row One. We'll be there. World Tour Rams. Check us out on IG. We're definitely gonna get into it. We're gonna have a lot of fun this season. Um, but anyway, like I was saying, um, back to this game against the Bill. In my opinion, I think this is going to be a Super Bowl preview. I got a friend of mine who's coming to the game. He's a Bills fan, and we both been saying this is going to be the first game of the season and the last game of the season. We both been saying it's going to be different results. But at the same time, I think this is a banger of a season opener. I think the NFL, they do a lot of things that we disagree with, but I think this is a great one. We got Josh Allen versus Matthew Stafford. You know, that team that they got over there in Buffalo. Of course, the revenge factor with Von Miller being on the Rams last year, and then finding a way to steal him away. Um, and bringing them over in their fold. There's a revenge factor there. We played against this team a couple years ago during the COVID year with no fans. Dropped a ended up in a 25-point hole. Jared Goff led us all the way back. We tied the game up. We weren't able to pull it out. It was a tough one. But I know some of those guys. I know Aaron Donald was there. Leonard Floyd was there. Jalen Ramsey was there. I know some of those guys are looking for some get back. It's going to be the battle of the Sean McVay versus Sean McDermott. It's going to be a great, crazy atmosphere. It's going to be Rams house versus Bills Mafia, and the Bills, Bills Mafia. I love them. They came out to a game a few years ago, our first year back in LA, and I didn't know. Like I had no idea about Bills Mafia. I didn't know that. Like I kind of heard like the hashtag before, but I didn't really know that like they were really like that. And Bills fans are really like that. And when I mean like that, they're like really like that. They travel, they have fun. They're not like crazy though. And that's the thing. That's one of the things I love them. They're not like crazy, like oh, like we're gonna get drunk and get into a fight, but like they're probably get drunk and dive into a table, which funnily enough, my boy Coach Kendall, shout out to you if you're watching this, but he's gonna be coming out. He's gonna be driving out from Vegas. He's a Bills fan. We got a little bet going on. If the Bills win, y'all gonna see me getting put through a table. So I'm gonna need Sean. I'm gonna need you to be in the I'm gonna need you to be in your bag for this one, man. I'm not trying to go through a table at 9 o'clock at night, man. Um, but this is going to be a really good game. These are two teams that are stacked on both sides of the ball. These are two teams that really feel like that they could be Super Bowl champions at the end of the year, and we're going to duke it out in the first game of the season, and we're going to see who really is the better team that night. There are so many ways to skin a cat, so many ways to win a game. But when I look at that game and when I look at that team, I look at four big points that I would drive home, 4 big points, 4 big areas that we have to be successful in order for us to get out of there with the W. The number one would be pressuring Josh Allen. Josh Allen is one of those guys. When I said earlier that if you believe, this guy's one of the best, that this guy's the best quarterback in the NFL. Da 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 da. Josh Allen's one of those guys. We know that the Buffalo Bills do not do a lot of running football. A lot of times when they do, Josh Allen is their number one, their number one rushing option. But when they are, passing the ball, they're very prolific. Passing offense, they're one of the top offenses in the NFL. And how do you stop some of these new offenses? With just the way the thing's going, how good quarterbacks are, how good receivers are, the way the rules are. Just in a lot of cases, it handcuffs the defense. But one of the ways you can get a leg up, get back in the game, is consistent pressure, pressuring the quarterback, getting after him, moving him off his spot, making him move in the pocket, and just making life miserable for him, and not just sitting back and allowing the guy to just, you know, just play after play after play, just comfortably sit there in the pocket, or even if they move him out of the pocket, whatever it is, we've got to get after him. We've got to make this game difficult for him. He's got to be great. Josh Allen's a great player, and he really truly is. But I need him. I need him to be as great as Josh Allen can be in order for them to win this game. I do not believe we should just sit back and allow them to just tear us apart limb from limb. Death by a thousand cuts. Where I believe that we have to get after Josh Allen if it means blitzing him, if it means getting in, changing up personnel, whatever it is. We got to find a way pressure Josh Allen, get him on, and not just pressure Josh Allen, but actually get him on the floor and bring him down. Josh is a big dude, and he's able to muscle off some guys sometimes, but we got a pretty big muscle guy too. So I'm like I said, we got to find a way to get him on the ground if we're going to if we're going to come out of this one with the W. Switching over to the offensive side of the ball, for us, the Bills had the number one defense in the league last year. They're going to be without Trey White, their best corner, but they drafted Kyrie Elam, who's going to be out there out of Florida. I actually like him. He's going to be a really good player for them in that defense. Um, they're really good at all three levels. In my opinion, they have the best safety tandem, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde in the NFL. They got Edmonds at the linebacker position. They got of course they brought in Von Miller. There's Ed Oliver. There's Greg Rousseau. There's really good players all over that Bills defense. So I don't think it's moving the ball on them is gonna be easy. So for that, I want to say focus on efficiency versus high end production. We know that Stafford loves to push the ball down the field. In fact, that's one of the reasons why Sean McVay brought him here to LA, is to push the ball down the field. With this pass rush and with that defensive backfield, I'm not sure if just consistently pushing the ball down the field though is the best plan of attack. I think focusing on the efficient, the Cooper Cups, the third and cups, the shorter, shorter, spread the field horizontally and kind of open up things for you there. I think that's going to be the way to go for us. And then as we're consistently efficient with that and just matriculating the ball down the field, those big, the big plays, the opportunities for Stafford to push the ball down the field will be there. But we have to we gotta get some, we gotta get some motion. We gotta get some forward motion. We can't let Stafford think that he's got to come out here and and just win the game for us, because that's it's not the case. We got some really good players on this team, and he's got some help. We gotta let him know that early in the game, though. We gotta do that with play calling, and then not only that, our playmakers gotta make some plays. Um, and then of course, with Stafford pushing the ball down the field, sometimes we see those interceptions, and that's brings me to my my third point. We got to keep the mistakes to a minimum, including Stafford's interceptions. Sometimes he likes to throw those arm punts down the field. If we can keep a couple of those in the holster this week, I would really appreciate that. I don't really believe that the Buffalo Bills are a team that you want to force yourself to. We, like I said, 2 years ago we went down 25 points to them. Um, we were able to come, but we weren't able to win the game. And I think going down 25 points definitely had something to do with that. Can't get into a hole. One of the easiest ways that teams do that is the mistakes, the turnovers, the drops, the penalties, all that stuff. We got to play a clean game of football, and that's you can make that case about every team for every game. But I think with a game of this magnitude against a team this good, that point is that importance is much higher in this game. And then, finally at the end, it's an old McVay adage: being at your best when your best is required. We got our best is going to be required for pretty much, in my opinion, 60 minutes in this game. Buffalo Bills, like I said, or a lot of people think they are the best roster in the league. A lot of people think that they're better than the Rams. Um, you know, uh, I may disagree with that, but we're gonna find out. This Thursday. But this is not a game that we can really slack off. This is not a game that we can afford to come out with the lack of urgency, with oh, we're the defending champs. I know that they're gonna have the banner ceremony before the game, right before the game. Can't come in there going looking back with blue and gold colored glasses at last season. We got to look forward with clear vision and sharp focus. That old McVay adage: being at your best when your best is required. And like I said, I honestly believe our best is going to be required for 60 minutes. I've actually been saying that I actually think this game could get to overtime. It would not surprise me at all. Of course, I want to see my team win. To go ahead and get that W in regulation and not even have to worry about all the extras. But I could definitely see, Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford going back and forth in a duel, and it going to overtime. So those are my four key elements for this game. Pressure Josh Allen, um, steady motion, matriculate the ball down the field, and let the big plays open up when they do. Keep the mistakes to the minimum, and then be at your best when your best is required. I think if we can do those four things consistently and all throughout the game, we have a very good chance of coming out with the W. Um, this says I think this has been the longest. I think this has been the longest episode I've done solo. Um, had a lot to talk about. I haven't done this in a couple weeks. And of course, the football season is finally here. I know I'm so ready. I'm so tired of looking at schedules and going back and watching film and being on Twitter and talking about, hypotheticals with people. We don't have to worry about the hypotheticals. It's now. It's in front of us. We got football. We got football every month until this. I mean, excuse me. We got football every weekend until the end of the excuse me, until the end of the Super Bowl. Um, and I love this time of year. This is my favorite time of year. I can't wait. I'm really excited about my team and their chances to run it back. I'm not just a, fan of my team though. I'm a, fan of other teams. I play fantasy football. My big guy that I'm banging the table for this year is Justin Jefferson. I actually drafted him fourth overall in my league. With Kevin O'Connell going from the Rams to Minnesota, and hearing them wanting to use Justin Jefferson, how Cooper Kupp was moving him all over the field. Um, I really think that could be a big here. That's actually my bet. He's actually my bet for offensive player of the year. Anyway, just like I said, I just there's so many other players I'm excited to see, not just the players on my team, but I definitely cannot wait until Thursday for that big opening week game against the Buffalo Bills. I cannot wait for that banner ceremony. So to see the banners, not just the one from last year, but there's also going to be one commemorating the '99 season in STL. Which actually that game was actually like the first game I actually remember watching, like, period, when it comes to football. Um, so that'll be a really special moment for me. And man, I can't wait, man. I cannot wait. Um, until next time, hope you and your families are blessed. I'll be back here. Hopefully, I'll see about doing maybe another preview of the game before the game. But I'll definitely be back here before the weekend to give you a recap of everything that happened in Inglewood on Thursday. Like I said, until then, I will catch y'all.